Eric Mason stood tall at the speaking platform. The room was filled with aliens from across the galaxy. Some had scales, others had tentacles, some had many eyes, others none at all. As Earth's main diplomat, Eric had gotten used to being the only human in rooms like this. The attack on our Proxima Centauri colony was an act of violence that killed 37 innocent people, Eric said. His voice was calm, but firm. Earth asks the Confederation to hold the Vrelic responsible for their actions. The Vrelic, representative, a tall being with gray skin and forearms, made a sound like stones grinding together. This was how they laughed. The humans died because they were weak, the Vrelic said. If they had proper shields, they would have lived. This is not our problem. Eric felt his face get hot. He wanted to yell, but he didn't. Humans had been part of the Galactic Confederation for only 20 years. They were still new. They still had much to learn, and they were still seen as the weakest species. We ask for a formal apology and payment to the families who lost loved ones, Eric said. The council room filled with more grinding laughter. The Mord representative, a massive creature covered in black fur with eyes that glowed yellow, leaned forward. Perhaps the humans should go back to their home planet if space is too dangerous for them, the Mord said. Eric took a deep breath. This was how it always went. The older species looked down on humans. They thought humans were too soft, too kind, too weak. But Eric believed that kindness was strength. He believed that one day, the other species would see this too. We will not be pushed out of space that is rightfully ours by treaty, Eric said. We ask the council to vote on our request. 5 hours later, Eric walked out of the council room. The vote had passed, but barely. The Vrelic would make a small payment to the human families and give a short apology. It wasn't much, but it was something. Lieutenant Commander Samantha Miller waited for him in the hallway. Her uniform was perfectly neat, her brown hair pulled back tight. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. My brother was on that colony, she said. He was a teacher. He thought he was making a better future out in space. Her voice broke. And now he's dead. Eric put a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry, Samantha. We got them to apologize and pay the families. Samantha's face hardened. An apology won't bring back my brother, and the payment is an insult. It's like they're throwing spare change at us. Eric sighed. It's how the system works. We're still new here. We have to play by their rules for now. Their rules are designed to keep us down, Samantha said. You saw how they laughed at us in there. They think we're jokes. An alien with blue skin and 3 eyes walked past them in the hall. It made a point to bump into Eric, almost knocking him over. Sorry, human, it said, not sounding sorry at all. I didn't see you there. You're so small. Eric straightened his suit and nodded politely. No harm done. When the alien was gone, Samantha shook her head. See what I mean? They don't respect us. Respect has to be earned, Eric said. No, Samantha replied. Respect should be given freely. When it's not, it has to be taken. They walked to the transport pad that would take them back to the human embassy. The Earth floated in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. Sometimes Eric wondered if humans had left their home too soon. Maybe they weren't ready for the cruel politics of space. Admiral John Peterson was waiting for them at the embassy. He was an older man with a face lined by years of tough decisions. His gray eyes seemed tired today. How did it go? He asked. As expected, Eric said. Small victory. Very small. Admiral Peterson nodded. Better than nothing. It's exactly nothing, Samantha said sharply. My brother is still dead, and those Vrelic raiders will do it again. They'll hit another colony, kill more humans, and all we'll do is ask nicely for them to say sorry. The Admiral looked at her for a long moment. Commander Miller, I understand your pain, but this is how diplomacy works. Slow steps. While we take slow steps, people die, she said. Eric went to his office and sat down heavily in his chair. On his desk was a report about the raid. He had read it many times. The Vrelic ships had come without warning. They had disabled the colonies, communications first, then the power grid. Then they had landed and moved through the colony, taking what they wanted. The report didn't say that the raiders had seemed to enjoy killing the humans. It didn't say that they had laughed as they did it. But Eric had seen the video feeds. He knew the truth. His computer beeped. A message from Earth's government. Continue diplomatic approach, avoid conflict at all costs. Eric rubbed his tired eyes. He believed in peace. He believed humans were better than the warlike species of the Confederation. But sometimes, in his darker moments, he wondered if the galaxy understood anything but force. Samantha came to his door later that night. I'm being assigned to the D. Patrol ship Northern Star, she said. We're going to protect the outer colonies. That's good, Eric said. We need good officers out there. The Northern Star has old weapons, Samantha said. If we run into Vrelic raiders, we won't stand a chance. Then don't run into them, Eric said with a small smile. That's an order. Samantha didn't smile back. One day they'll push too far, she said. One day all your careful diplomacy won't be enough, and on that day we'll need ships with real weapons and soldiers who aren't afraid to use them. After she left, Eric looked out his window at the stars. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for so long. In their dreams, space had been full of wonders and new friends. The reality was harsher. Space was like an ocean, and there were sharks in these waters. We'll find a way to make peace, Eric whispered to himself. We have to. But as reports came in of more ships going missing near Vrelic space, as the Mord Dominion began to test the borders of human territory, Eric felt a cold fear growing in his heart. What if Samantha was right? What if there came a day when words were not enough? 6 months passed since the raid on Proxima Centauri b. Things had not gotten better. They had gotten worse. Dr. Lisa Grant looked out the window of Horizon Station. The stars shone bright against the blackness of space. Normally this view calmed her. Today it made her nervous. A ship was out there. It wasn't supposed to be. Computer, identify the ship near Sector 4, Lisa said. Ship belongs to the Mord Dominion, the computer replied. It claims to be on a routine patrol. Lisa frowned. This was the third Mord ship. This week. Horizon Station was in human space. The Mord had no reason to patrol here. She went back to her lab. Inside, 20 scientists worked on finding cures for diseases that affected all species in the Confederation. Lisa led the team. Their work was important. It saved lives. Another Mord ship? Asked Dr. Ben Howard, not looking up from his microscope. Yes, Lisa said. They're getting bolder. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done it already, Ben said. Lisa wasn't so sure. Something felt wrong. The Mord ships stayed just far enough away to avoid breaking rules. But they watched. Always watching. In her office, Lisa sent a message to Confederation security. Mord ships continue to enter restricted human space near Horizon Station. Request increased patrols. The reply came quickly. Request noted. No action needed at this time. Lisa slammed her hand on the desk. This was the 4th time they had ignored her concerns. She decided to break the rules. She sent a direct message to Admiral Peterson. Mord ships are watching Horizon Station. Confederation security does nothing. I fear they want our research. The Admiral's reply was quick. Keep detailed records of all ships. Document everything. I need proof to take to the Security Council. Lisa began keeping a log. Which ships came, how long they stayed, how close they came to the station. It was clear they were testing the boundaries, seeing what they could get away with. One night, alarms woke Lisa from sleep. She rushed to the lab in her night clothes. 2 of her team were already there. Someone's been in the lab, Dr. Maya Patel said. Her face was pale with shock. The secure server has been accessed. What did they take? Lisa asked, her heart pounding. Everything, Maya whispered. All our research on the new vaccine. Years of work. They checked the security feeds. 2 Mord had somehow gotten onto the station. They had used fake IDs to enter the lab. The security system had been fooled too easily. Lisa sent all the evidence to Admiral Peterson. His reply was grim. This confirms our fears. The Mord are actively working against human interests. The Security Council meets tomorrow. I will show them this. The next day, Lisa watched the council meeting through a video feed. Admiral Peterson presented the evidence clearly. The Mord representative denied everything. These are serious accusations, the Mord said. Perhaps the humans simply lost their data and need someone to blame. Other species sided with the Mord. Only a few supported Earth. In the end, the council decided that there wasn't enough proof. The Mord would not be punished. Instead, they suggested that human stations should upgrade their security. Lisa couldn't believe it. The proof was right there. The Confederation had chosen to ignore it. Meanwhile, in the diplomatic quarter, Ambassador Eric Mason was having problems of his own. Many of his human staff had been replaced by advisors from other species. These advisors watched everything he did. It's for better cooperation between species, the Confederation president had explained. But Eric knew the truth. They wanted to control him, to make sure humans stayed quiet and didn't cause trouble. Eric met with Admiral Peterson in a secure room that was checked daily for listening devices. They stole Lisa's research, the Admiral said, and the Council did nothing. The attacks on our colonies have tripled, Eric added. The Vrelic claim they can't control their raiders. The Mords say it's not their problem. They're testing us, Admiral Peterson said, seeing how much we'll take before we fight back. I've tried everything, Eric said. His voice was tired. I've appealed to their sense of fairness, to our shared goals, to the rules of the Confederation itself. Nothing works. Because they don't see us as equals, the Admiral replied. They see us as weak, as prey. On the colony world of New Haven, Sheriff Olivia Wright faced down a group of Vrelic. They had landed their ship in the middle of a wheat field, destroying the crop. You need to leave, Olivia said firmly. This is private property. The lead Vrelic, taller than the others, leaned down to look Olivia in the eye. Its breath smelled like rotten meat. We go where we want, human, it said. Your laws mean nothing to us. This is human space, Olivia insisted. You need permission to land here. The Vrelic made that grinding laugh sound. What will you do if we stay? Call your weak fleet? They won't come for something so small. Olivia knew this was true. Earth's fleet was stretched thin, trying to protect all the colonies. They wouldn't send a ship just because some aliens were being rude. Just don't cause any more damage, she finally said. The Vrelic laughed again and went back to their ship. They didn't leave. Instead, they had a loud party that went on all night. In the morning, they finally took off, but not before dumping their trash all over the field. News of such incidents spread among the colonies. Humans began to feel that the Confederation didn't protect them, that they were on their own. On Earth, the United Security Council met to discuss the growing crisis. Admiral Peterson showed them the data. Attacks are up 300%. Thefts of human technology are becoming common. Alien ships enter our space without permission daily. The Confederation does nothing. What do you suggest? Asked the council head. We need stronger ships, better weapons, and we need to start using them, the Admiral said. That goes against everything we stand for, Eric argued. We joined the Confederation as a peaceful species. We can't abandon that now. They see our peace as weakness, Admiral Peterson replied. And they're taking advantage of it. The council was divided. Some agreed with Eric, wanting to try more diplomacy. Others sided with the Admiral, feeling it was time to show strength. In the end, they compromised. They would build stronger ships, but keep them hidden. They would develop better weapons, but not use them unless attacked. They would continue to work within the Confederation's rules, but prepare for the day when those rules might not protect them. As the meeting ended, Eric felt a deep sadness. This was not how he had imagined humanity's journey to the stars. He had dreamed of friendship and cooperation. Instead, he got politics and threats. On Horizon Station, Lisa Grant received a message from Admiral Peterson. It was coded and brief. Implement Protocol Shadow. Reference files attached. Lisa reviewed the files carefully. Protocol Shadow was a plan she had never heard of before. It called for her to secretly build backdoors into all medical technology shared with other species. These backdoors would allow humans to disable the technology if needed. It felt wrong. It went against her oath as a doctor to help all beings. But after the theft of her research, after seeing how the Confederation had failed to protect human interest time and again, Lisa understood why such measures might be necessary. With a heavy heart, she began the work. She told no one, not even her team. This was humanity's insurance policy, a way to fight back if things got worse. And things were about to get much worse. New Eden was the pride of human space. Unlike the metal and glass habitats built by other species, New Eden was a true colony world. It had blue skies, green forests, and clear lakes. 20 million humans called it home. Governor Karen Walsh stood at the window of her office looking out at Unity City. The capital of New Eden was a beautiful mix of modern buildings and natural spaces. Trees grew along every street. Parks filled the spaces between buildings. It was a city built to work with nature, not against it. Governor, the Vrelic fleet, is requesting permission to enter orbit, said her assistant Frank. Karen frowned. The Vrelic had never shown interest in New Eden before. Did they say why they're here? They claim they're chasing pirates, Frank said. They say the pirates might be hiding in our system. Karen didn't believe this for a second. There had been no reports of pirates near New Eden, but she couldn't turn away a Confederation fleet without good reason. Tell them they can enter orbit, she said, but they need to stay in the designated areas, and no ships are allowed to land without my direct permission. The Vrelic fleet arrived 3 hours later. It was much larger than needed for chasing pirates. 5 massive warships and 20 smaller vessels took up positions around the planet. They're scanning us, reported the defense chief Alan Boyd. His face showed his concern. Their scans are very detailed, more than needed for looking for pirates. Keep monitoring them, Karen ordered, and make sure all our defense systems are ready, just in case. For 3 days, the Vrelic fleet stayed in orbit. They sent messages about their search for pirates, but never seemed to actually look for any. Instead, their scans of the planet grew more and more detailed. Karen sent reports to Earth expressing her concerns. The replies were always the same. Maintain diplomatic relations. Avoid any actions that could be seen as hostile. On the morning of the 4th day, Karen was woken by alarms. She rushed to the command center, still in her sleep clothes. "What's happening?" she demanded. Alan's face was white with shock. "The Vrelic ships have moved. They're in attack position." Karen couldn't believe it. "Contact them immediately." The communication officer tried, but there was no answer from the Vrelic ships. Then it began. The first shots hit the planet's small defense platforms, destroying them instantly. Then the Vrelic ships started firing on the planet itself. They're targeting population centers. Alan shouted over the noise of alarms. Karen watched in horror as the screens showed explosions across Unity City. Buildings fell, parks burned, people died. "Get me Earth," Karen screamed at the communication officer. "Now." The connection took precious minutes to establish. When it did, Karen found herself facing Ambassador Eric Mason. His eyes widened at the sight of her fear and the chaos behind her. "The Vrelic are attacking New Eden," Karen said, her voice shaking. "They're killing everyone. We need help. Now." Eric's face showed his shock. "I'll contact the Confederation Council immediately, and I'll have Admiral Peterson send every ship we can spare." But Karen knew it would take time for help to arrive. New Eden was 3 days away from Earth, even at the fastest speeds. "We'll hold out as long as we can," she promised. The attack continued. The Vrelic ships moved methodically, hitting cities, towns, even small villages. It wasn't a military action. It was something else, something worse. In the emergency bunker beneath the government building, Karen tried to organize the defense. But New Eden's weapons were no match for the Vrelic fleet. "We need to evacuate as many people as we can," she told her team. "Use every ship we have." They worked desperately, sending ships full of people away from the planet. Some made it, many didn't. The Vrelic seemed to take special pleasure in shooting down the escape ships. By the end of the first day, 10 million people were dead. On Earth, Eric Mason rushed into an emergency meeting of the Security Council. His normally neat appearance was gone. His hair was messy, his suit wrinkled. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. The Vrelic have attacked New Eden without provocation, he announced to the room. They've killed millions of humans. This is an act of war. The room erupted in shouts and questions. Eric raised his voice to be heard above the noise. We have video proof. The Vrelic claim their weapons activated due to a navigational malfunction, but the attack is too precise. They're targeting cities, not military bases. They're killing civilians. The council president, a tall being with silver skin, called for order. This is indeed serious, it said. If what you say is true, Ambassador Mason, the Confederation, will need to act. If? Eric repeated, his voice rising in anger. There's no if about it. It's happening right now. Every minute we waste in discussion, more humans die. The Vrelic representative stood up. We regret this unfortunate incident, it said, not sounding regretful at all. As we explained, a malfunction caused our ships to fire on the human world. We are working to fix the problem. A malfunction that's lasted for over a day? Eric asked in disbelief. A malfunction that specifically targets human cities and escape ships? Do you think we're fools? The room fell silent. No one had ever heard the always diplomatic Eric Mason speak with such anger. The Confederation must act, Eric continued. If you don't, Earth will defend itself, by any means necessary. The council president looked troubled. We will need to investigate before taking action. These are serious charges. There's no time for investigations, Eric shouted. Millions are dying while we talk. But the council insisted on following procedures. They would form a committee to look into the attack. They would gather evidence. They would hear from both sides. Eric stormed out of the meeting. In the hallway, he found Admiral Peterson waiting. They won't help, Eric said bitterly. They're going to investigate while our people die. The Admiral's face was grim. Then it's time, Eric. Time to show them what humanity is really capable of. Eric closed his eyes briefly. He had spent his career fighting for peace, for diplomacy, for working within the rules. But the rules had failed. Diplomacy had failed. And the cost was being paid in human lives. Do it, he said quietly. Initiate Thanatos Protocol. The Admiral nodded once, then pulled out a secure communicator. He spoke a series of code words into it, then added, Authorization. Peterson, Alpha 59 Theta, execute. Across human space, secret orders went out. Hidden ships were activated. Weapons that officially didn't exist were armed. Soldiers who had trained in secret prepared for battle. On New Eden, the slaughter continued. The Vrelic ships moved to new targets, leaving destroyed cities burning behind them. The death toll climbed to 15 million. In her bunker, Governor Walsh received a coded message from Earth. Hold on. Help is coming. She looked around at the few members of her staff who were still alive. Their faces were dirty, their eyes hollow with shock and grief. Help is coming, she told them. We just need to survive a little longer. But she wondered what kind of help could possibly stop the Vrelic now. And even if the attack ended today, what would be left of New Eden, of its people and its beautiful cities? In space, the Vrelic fleet commander watched the destruction with satisfaction. The humans were weak, just as he had always believed. They died so easily. Their buildings fell so quickly. Their ships were no match for Vrelic power. Move to the southern continent, he ordered. There are still large population centers there, Commander, one of his officers said. Our sensors detect energy signatures at the edge of the system. More human ships trying to flee? The commander asked. Destroy them. No, Commander, the officer replied, sounding confused. These are different. The energy readings are unlike anything in our database. The commander was about to demand more information when new ships appeared as if from nowhere. They weren't the simple, bulky ships humans usually flew. These were sleek, dark, and moved with incredible speed. What are those? The commander demanded. Before anyone could answer, the new ships opened fire. Their weapons cut through Vrelic shields as if they weren't there. 3 Vrelic ships exploded before they could even return fire. The commander stared at his display in shock. This wasn't possible. Humans didn't have weapons like this. They didn't have ships like this. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessels, he ordered. But the new human ships were too fast, too powerful. They dodged Vrelic weapons fire with ease and returned devastating shots of their own. As his fleet began to fall apart around him, the commander realized that everything he knew about humans had been wrong. They weren't weak. They had just been patient. Commander Paul Richards sat in the captain's chair of the Shadow Fleet flagship Nemesis. The ship didn't officially exist. It had been built in secret, deep inside an asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. Its weapon systems violated at least 6 Confederation treaties. Paul didn't care about treaties anymore. Not after New Eden. "All ships report ready, Commander," said his second-in-command, Susan Lee. "Begin the attack," Paul ordered. "Target the Vrelic command ships first." The Shadow Fleet moved with precision that surprised even Paul. These ships and their crews had trained for years in secret, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. Now that day was here, and they were ready. The Vrelic ships, caught by surprise, tried to regroup, but they were used to fighting enemies who played by the rules. The Shadow Fleet didn't. "They're trying to send a distress signal," Susan reported. "Jam it," Paul ordered. "No messages get out." As the battle raged around New Eden, Paul addressed his strike team. 50 men and women in advanced combat suits stood ready in the launch bay. "Today we board the Vrelic flagship," Paul told them. "We take their commander alive if possible. We need to know who ordered this attack and why." A soldier raised his hand. "Sir, the Vrelic are bigger and stronger than humans. Their ship will have hundreds of warriors." Paul nodded. "Yes, they are bigger. They are stronger. But today they learn that doesn't matter. Today they learn what happens when humanity's tolerance runs out." He looked at each soldier in turn. "We offered friendship to the galaxy, remember that. We tried peace first." The strike team launched from the Nemesis in small, fast ships. They dodged Vrelic defensive fire and attached to the hull of the flagship. Using cutting tools, they burned their way inside. The fight through the Vrelic ship was brutal. The aliens fought hard, but the human strike team had surprise on their side. And they had something else. A cold, focused anger that made them unstoppable. Paul led from the front. When his weapon ran out of ammo, he used his combat knife. When a Vrelic warrior knocked the knife from his hand, he used his fists. Finally, they reached the bridge. The Vrelic commander was there, surrounded by his officers. He was bigger than the others, his gray skin marked with the scars of old battles. "Surrender," Paul said, his weapon aimed at the commander's head. The Vrelic made that grinding laugh sound. "You are brave, human. Stupid, but brave." "I won't ask again," Paul warned. The commander lunged forward suddenly, faster than something so big should be able to move. But Paul was ready. He fired once. The commander fell. "Secure the rest of them," Paul ordered his team, "and download their ship's data. I want to know everything they know." While the Shadow Fleet dealt with the Vrelic at New Eden, other human ships appeared across the galaxy. They targeted Vrelic military bases and shipyards. The attacks were quick, devastating, and precisely aimed to avoid civilian casualties. Horizon Station, Dr. Lisa Grant received the signal she had been dreading. It was time to activate Protocol Shadow. She sat at her computer and entered a series of complex codes. Across the galaxy, medical systems that humans had shared with other species began to change. They didn't shut down completely. Lisa had refused to endanger patients, but they began to display warnings. "This system has been compromised by the Vrelic attack on New Eden. Contact Earth authorities for assistance." It was a message no one could ignore. Every hospital, every medical center, every doctor across 1,000 worlds saw it. The news of what happened at New Eden spread faster than any official report could. In the Confederation Council chamber, the emergency meeting was still going on when the news arrived. A junior aide rushed in and whispered to the council president, The silver-skinned being's face showed shock. "We have reports of human military action against the Vrelic," the president announced. "And it appears humans have some kind of control over medical systems throughout Confederation space." The room erupted in chaos. Species that had been neutral now feared for their own safety. The Vrelic representatives shouted demands for help. Ambassador Eric Mason sat calmly in the middle of the storm. When the noise died down, he stood to speak. "What you are seeing is humanity's answer to years of abuse," he said, his voice steady. "We tried diplomacy. We followed your rules. And you failed us. You failed to protect us. You failed to respect us. You failed to understand us." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. "Let me be clear. Humanity does not want war. We want peace. But it will be a peace based on mutual respect, not on our submission." The moored representative, the massive black-furred creature, rose to its full height. "You dare threaten the Confederation? Your species is young and weak. You will be crushed for this outrage." Eric didn't flinch. "I suggest you check with your military before making such claims." At that moment, as if on cue, reports began to come in of human attacks on moored border stations. The moored representative received a message and read it with growing alarm. "This is an act of war," the moored shouted. "No," Eric replied calmly. "This is an act of self-defense. The Vrelic murdered millions of our people. You, the moored, have been raiding our colonies and stealing our technology for years. We have evidence of your involvement in the attack on New Eden. Did you think we wouldn't find out? Did you think we wouldn't respond?" The moored representative had no answer. "Let me tell all of you what happens next," Eric continued. "The attacks on Vrelic and moored military targets will continue until they withdraw all forces from human space and pay for the rebuilding of New Eden. The medical systems will return to normal when these conditions are met." "You ask for much," the council president said. "We ask for justice," Eric replied. "Nothing more, nothing less." Back at New Eden, the battle was over. The Vrelic fleet had been destroyed or captured. Shadow Fleet ships now orbited the planet, protecting it from any further attacks. Paul Richards led his team back to the Nemesis. They brought with them the injured Vrelic commander and the data from the flagship's computers. "What did we find?" Paul asked his intelligence officer. "Sir, the data confirms what we suspected," the officer replied. "The attack on New Eden was planned months ago. It was meant to test our response, to see how far they could push us." Paul looked at the captured commander, who was being treated by a human doctor despite his injuries. "And what does he say?" "He's surprised, sir. He keeps saying that humans were supposed to be weak, that we weren't supposed to have ships like these or weapons like these." Paul nodded slowly. "They thought they knew us. They studied our history, our wars against each other. They saw our restraint and mistook it for weakness." He walked to the window and looked out at the devastated planet below. New Eden would recover, in time, but it would never be the same. Its innocence was gone, burned away in the fire of Vrelic weapons. "Send a message to Admiral Peterson," Paul ordered. "New Eden is secure, but there's something he needs to know." "What's that, sir?" Paul turned from the window, his face hard. "Tell him the Vrelic commander says this attack was just the beginning. The moored and Vrelic had plans to attack Earth next. They wanted to make humanity a slave species." The intelligence officer looked shocked. "They thought they could enslave us?" "They thought we were weak," Paul repeated. "They thought our kindness was weakness, our restraint was fear, our diplomacy was submission." He shook his head slowly. "They were wrong." On Earth, Admiral Peterson received Paul's message. He shared it immediately with the United Earth Security Council. The council members listened in grim silence. "Can we trust this information?" the council head asked. "We've verified it with multiple sources," the admiral replied. "The Vrelic and moored have been planning this for years. They saw us as easy targets. And now?" another council member asked. "Now they know better," Admiral Peterson said. "But we need to decide what happens next. Do we continue our attacks? Do we push for more concessions? Or do we show mercy?" "Eric," Mason, joining the meeting via secure link from the Confederation station, spoke up. I suggest we do what humans have always done best. We turn enemies into friends. After what they did to New Eden, someone objected. How can we ever be friends? With them? Not easily, Eric. 1 year passed since the attack on New Eden. The galaxy had changed completely. Admiral John Peterson stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space station. It was larger than the old one, with better defenses and more advanced technology. But that wasn't what made it special. What made it special was who had built it. The Vrelic engineering teams did excellent work, said Samantha Miller, now General Miller, as she joined him at the window. They finished 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Peterson nodded. They're eager to prove themselves useful. The Vrelic, once among the most feared species in the Confederation, now occupied a single sanctuary world under human protection. Their military had been disbanded. Their warships had been scrapped. It was a hard fall for a proud species. Do you think we did the right thing? Samantha asked. Letting them live after what they did? Peterson considered the question. Eric was right. We're not like them. We don't destroy just because we can. He paused. Besides, they're more useful alive than dead. Below them, a group of Vrelic workers moved carefully around the outer hull of the station, making final adjustments. They worked under the watchful eyes of human supervisors. The Mord delegation arrives tomorrow, Samantha said, changing the subject. They're bringing their new treaty proposals. Peterson smiled slightly. Let me guess. They want more time to pay reparations. Yes, and they want permission to rebuild some of their defensive systems. Denied on both counts, Peterson said firmly. They haven't earned any concessions yet. The Mord Dominion had broken apart after the war. The once united species now existed as separate houses, each trying to prove their loyalty to Earth faster than the others. It was a competition humans encouraged. Divided, the Mord were no threat. Ambassador Mason is meeting with representatives from the neutral species today, Samantha continued. 30 species who didn't take sides in the conflict. They didn't help us, Peterson pointed out. But they didn't join the Vrelic and Mord either. That counts for something. On New Eden, the rebuilding was well underway. New cities rose from the ruins of the old. The parks and forests would take longer to recover, but humans were patient. They planted trees that their grandchildren would sit under. Governor Walsh had become a symbol of human resilience. She had refused offers to retire, insisting on leading the rebuilding efforts personally. Today, she walked through the new central plaza of Unity City with a group of alien visitors. This building will be our new cultural center, she explained, pointing to a half-finished structure. It will showcase art and history from all species, not just humans. One of the visitors, a small being with blue scales, looked confused. You still want to share culture with other species, after what happened? Walsh smiled. What happened showed us which species we can't trust. But there are many more we can. We humans still believe in friendship and cooperation. We just make sure that respect comes first now. In his office beneath the Rocky Mountains, Ambassador Eric Mason prepared for the most important meeting of his career. The conference room was filled with representatives from 30 species who had remained neutral during what was now called the New Eden Incident. Eric had aged in the past year. His hair had more gray, and lines had appeared around his eyes. But he stood straight and spoke with confidence. Thank you all for coming, he began. Today, we talk about the future, a future where all species can live and work together in true peace. A representative with feathers instead of hair spoke up. Forgive me, Ambassador, but how can there be peace when humans now control so much? Your ships patrol Confederation space. Your troops occupy the Vrelic homeworld. Your technology controls medical systems across the galaxy. Eric nodded. Fair questions. And I promise you we don't want to be police or jailers or overlords. That was never our goal. He paused. But we learned a hard lesson at New Eden. Trust must be earned, respect must be given, and words alone are not enough. He activated a holographic display showing a new document. This is what we're calling the Mason Doctrine. It sets out principles for a new confederation, one based on true equality and mutual respect. The representatives studied the document carefully. 1. A being that looked like a walking plant pointed to a section. This says all species must contribute equally to defense. Yes, Eric confirmed. No more free riders. No more letting others take all the risks. Another, a creature made of what seemed to be living crystal, noted, and this requires regular inspections of military facilities. Again, yes, Eric said. Trust, but verify. If the Vrelic and Mord had been subject to such inspections, they could never have built up forces in secret. The discussions went on for hours. Some points were debated fiercely, others were accepted easily. By the end, a framework was taking shape for a new galactic order. As the meeting concluded, Eric walked, with some of the representatives, to the transport pads. One, an older being with skin like polished bronze, fell into step beside him. I have lived long enough to see many rises and falls of power, the alien said. I saw the Vrelic at their height. I saw the Mord when none dared oppose them. And now I see humanity's time. Eric shook his head. This isn't about human power. It's about making sure what happened at New Eden never happens again. To any species. The bronze-skinned being made a sound that might have been laughter. You humans are interesting. You fight with a ferocity that frightens even the Vrelic. Yet you speak of peace as your highest goal. Because it is, Eric said simply. We never wanted this power. We only ever asked to be treated as equals. On the rebuilt Horizon Station, Dr. Lisa Grant watched as her team worked alongside scientists from a dozen different species. The medical research that had been stolen by the Mord had been recovered and expanded. New cures were being developed every day. Dr. Grant called one of her assistants. The Vrelic researcher has made a breakthrough on the nerve regeneration project. Lisa smiled. The same Vrelic who had once looked down on humans now worked desperately to prove their worth through scientific contributions. It was a better use of their talents than war. She walked over to the Vrelic scientist's workstation. Show me what you found, she said. The Vrelic, smaller than most of its kind and missing one arm, carefully displayed its results. The human approach was good, it said, but by combining it with Vrelic biochemistry principles, I've increased effectiveness by 62%. Lisa studied the data. Impressive work. This will help millions of patients. The Vrelic lowered its head slightly, a sign of respect that would have been unthinkable a year ago. I am grateful for the chance to help, Dr. Grant. Many of my kind are not given opportunities to redeem ourselves. Lisa thought about the back doors she had built into medical systems across the galaxy. They were still there, though no longer active. A reminder rather than a threat. Redemption comes through actions, she said. Keep doing good work and the past becomes less important. Across human space, a new confidence had taken hold. The fear that had come with being the newest, weakest species in the Confederation was gone. In its place was a quiet pride. Humans had been pushed to their limits, and they had survived. More than survived. They had prevailed. On the memorial world that New Eden had become, General Samantha Miller walked through the Garden of Remembrance with Eric Mason. The garden stretched across what had once been the worst-hit areas of Unity City. Now it was a place of peace and reflection. 17,462,919, Samantha said quietly. That's the final death toll from the attack. Eric nodded solemnly. Each name is recorded. Here. Each life is remembered. They stopped at a particular memorial stone. The name Jason Miller was carved into it, along with the words, teacher, brother, friend. My brother always believed in the best of people, Samantha said. Even aliens. He thought everyone could get along if they just tried hard enough. She touched the stone gently. I wonder what he would think of the galaxy now. Eric considered the question. I think he would be sad about what it took to get here, but I hope he would be proud of what we're building. They continued walking, passing groups of visitors from many different species. Some were Vrelic, allowed to visit under strict supervision, to see firsthand the consequences of their leader's actions. Near the center of the garden stood a simple monument. It was a piece of twisted metal from the original attack, mounted on a stone base. Words were carved into the base in dozens of languages. The human English version read, "Let no species forget the cost of arrogance." General Miller looked at the monument thoughtfully. "Do you think they really understand? The Vrelic, the Mord, even the neutral species? Do they understand what happened here?" Eric watched as a group of young Vrelic stood silently before the monument, their normally aggressive posture subdued. "They're learning," he said, "just as we learned." "What did we learn?" Samantha asked. "Besides the fact that we needed bigger guns and better ships?" Eric smiled slightly. "We learned that there's a middle ground between turning the other cheek and burning everything down. We learned that true strength isn't about who has the biggest weapons or who can shout the loudest." He paused. "We learned that peace is worth fighting for, but it has to be a peace based on mutual respect."